Here's two interesting questions for you guys. Should all modes in Call of Duty have a game type to play cranked? And should all future Call of Duty games have this game mode? You know what? Let's add a quick third question. How many times do you think a YouTube auditor goes and fucks himself? Now, the funny thing is about this topic is that it discusses the future of Call of Duty games. Meanwhile, I have no intention of buying the next two Call of Duty games. Obviously, I boycott all Treyarch products. Along with Bethesda and the YouTube auditor, they can all go fuck themselves. So, Crap Ops 3 taking place 100 years in the future, whatever the fuck they're doing, not buying it. Advanced Warfare looks like a game that's going to annoy the shit out of me. Campaign looks okay, but for that, I can play Killzone, I can play Crysis, online. Hell no, that's just asking to be a hot mess, so I am not getting Advanced Warfare. But even though I'm taking my longest break ever from Call of Duty, that doesn't mean I can't offer up suggestions for other players to enjoy the game when they purchase it. As plain vanilla as Ghosts really was, there were certain things that they did that deserves praise. For starters, the game does not have massive lag problems like prior games had. Sure, it had its moments of lag spikes. Sure, there are times you can't kill a motherfucker and he just walks through a stream of bullets that completely miss him, even though you know your sight is center mass, dead to rights on his chest. But compared to the prior Call of Duty games, this was a massive improvement when it came to online lag. There is no denying connections are not a problem with this game. Now, the other major improvement that I have said from day one was cranked. As a running gunner, and as any running gunner will tell you, getting killed by a corner camper just pisses you the fuck off. There are people who will corner camp in any game mode. Free-for-all, team deathmatch, search and destroy. Although I can't lie, I probably camp my ass off in the corner too and search and destroy. Fuck your hide and go seek, man. I can't stand that shit. Anyways, there are plenty of game modes where people will camp in a corner just for a cheap kill. Will they get the top score in the room? Absolutely not. Will they finish with the most kills in the game? Hell fucking no. Will they finish positive in kill death ratio? Possibly. But just going 5 and 4, sitting as far away from the action as possible, that's not exactly playing the damn game. With Cranked, this was probably the best concept towards fixing the corner camper issue. Yes, there are corner campers in Cranked. Yes, people will hold up a wall better than a 12-year-old boy at a school dance. But Cranked at least made an effort to curb that shit. If you get a kill and sit there for more than 30 seconds, you will die eventually. This is not a game mode for kill death ratio whores. This is not a game mode for people who want to pad their stats. You want to post up and get an 85 kill game? Go play Domination. Camp and post up all day there, but in Cranked, moving around and taking advantage of the perk system is what helps you get by in this game. Since this game mode is for the ultimate run and gunner, I think this could easily be applied to the other game modes. You know, instead of just having one game mode for Crank, which is basically just team deathmatch, what if the idea was expanded upon and it gets its own game type? Similar to how we have hardcore and regular right now, what if future Call of Duty games released a lineup type of Crank game mode matches? Now, think about this for a second. Crank Domination, Crank Free-for-all, Cranked Headquarters. But you have to make some concessions in that one. Obviously, there are moments where everyone's dead and needs to destroy a captured headquarters. Whatever, man. This isn't a huge stretch for game types, and it still leaves all the other game modes we have intact. It doesn't touch them or replace them, but it adds the option of at least having the least camper-friendly game mode in the game. Now, granted, Crank wasn't the most played game mode in Ghosts. A lot of that has to do with people protecting their kill-death ratio or how quickly the games go where they actually feel like they don't get a number of kills. But can you imagine this on Domination? Your Crank timer gets started when you get a kill. Not capturing the opening flag. We're talking about getting an actual kill. After those initial opening moments of the game, capturing flags, getting kills, will count towards you getting cranked. You would see people flying all over the map trying to get kills and flags. You would see the majority of fights occurring around flags or people heading towards enemy flags because they don't want to run the risk of blowing up. And much like Ghost did now, adding the double points and the ridiculous amount of XP you can get if you rack up a number of kills in a row with Cranked, you now have incentive to play that game mode without too much of a major fear from campers. Yes, people will still post up in Domination. Yes, there will still be those flag monkeys who want every single flag, or people who babysit flags, making sure you don't capture them. But that's no different than what we go through now, yet we still put up with that bullshit. Now, imagine the game of Headquarters. Frantic as it is enough, imagine that shit now if you're on a personal timer to get a kill or capture Headquarters. Now we're talking pressure. Now, the fastest game mode of the game really got fucking fast. Although, the one change you would definitely have to make is when you probably have to stop the timer once the other team is completely dead waiting to respawn, while the other team has to destroy the headquarters. Because think about it, if it takes you 5 seconds to destroy a headquarters and all 6 of the other players are dead, what fucking points could you possibly get? So that would obviously have to be discussed and altered when it comes to a headquarters style match, but you get the point. It's possible. Now, if Sledgehammer and Treyarch decided to adopt these ideas of crank style matches, I would make a few changes to the system first. I love crank, don't get me wrong, but I would make it a touch better. For starters, when you are cranked and the 30-second timer is counting down, if you stay immobile for 10 seconds, then the countdown should double in speed. So for those people who tend to camp, sit in the corners, stick their thumb up their ass, doesn't fucking matter, even though they have a 30-second countdown, if you sit there doing nothing, the timer will begin counting down faster than if you were to run around. If you stay immobile, you will notice that the timer begins to double in time and speed. So, moving around, the countdown is normal. Sitting in a corner, you're going to notice the clock accelerates and you're going to die a lot quicker, motherfucker. For Treyarch especially, this should seem pretty familiar. If you guys remember when we had the Ghost perk back in Black Ops 2, you had to avoid the radar by continuing to move. If you sat in a corner with the Ghost perk and a radar was going off, people would see you. But as long as you were moving, nobody would see you on the radar. Think of it like that in Cranked. As long as you're moving, that countdown clock will not accelerate towards your death any quicker. You know, obviously people are going to mention, you know, whether you're capturing a flag, destroying a headquarters, and the timer might accelerate because you're sitting on something, but let's be honest, it takes less than 10 seconds to capture a flag. So, you should be fine capturing a flag, getting up, and running away from that shit so that the timer doesn't actually accelerate up in this motherfucker. But that leads me to my next point about playing objectives. If you get a kill, you get 30 seconds to get another kill. It's not like they give you 30 more seconds, where if you killed someone with 15 seconds remaining, you go up to 45 seconds. No, it doesn't stack like that. But when it comes to capturing flags, planting bombs, destroying headquarters, whatever you want to do, when you complete an objective, the game should give you maybe 35 seconds or 40 seconds, whatever the fuck it is. More objective points, more time on your clock in crank modes. To me, that's fair. People who only want to get their kills will still have their 30 seconds like before, but the objective players will receive a bit extra time for being that team player that's actually playing the objective. Now again, it's not a huge time we're talking about. 5 seconds does make a difference in Cranked. Especially 10 seconds. Oh man, you give me 10 extra seconds in Cranked, I'll find a motherfucker. But if you capture a flag, 5 seconds isn't going to hurt you. 10 seconds for extra time will work. And if you don't capture flags, well, you still get your normal 30-second countdown. Now, the other idea that could be used, instead of giving someone 5 or 10 seconds extra, you could have the timer freeze when you're completing an objective. Similar to what I mentioned in Headquarters, say we get a game of Crank Sabotage. That sounds like an awful fucking idea, but work with me here, people. Sabotage is bad enough. I can't imagine that shit with Crank. But anyway, anytime the person plants the bomb, his Crank timer, if he has one, he managed to get a kill, will pause for the duration of the plant. Same with defusing a bomb. Say you're cranked at the time and you need to begin defusing. Is it fair that you lose 7 seconds because you're playing the objective? No. I say pause the timer for anyone or anybody who's doing the objective while they're actually doing the objective. It's the only way people on the clock will actually play the objective. Say you have 5 seconds left on a crank timer and you need to defuse a bomb. Is it fair that that clock keeps going, possibly to your death, although you're about to do one of the most important objectives in the game? Of course not. Defuse the bomb and get 35 seconds or whatever the fuck it is for your crank clock for doing the objective. Now, you're rewarded with points, you're rewarded with time, you did the objective, everyone fucking wins. Now, after all these years of Call of Duty games, all these years of new game modes and shit like that, clearly we have way too many game modes. You log in and you only see a handful of people playing certain modes, and you play against the same people over and over and over again because there's only 85 fucking people playing Capture the Flag. It's not a bad thing that we have all these game modes, but obviously with all these game modes, you space the community out far too much. In the Blueprint video I did a long time ago in a land far, far away, I suggested weekly rotating game modes. Modern Warfare 3 had something that was similar along these lines of what I'm suggesting with that community-based games and whatnot. Now, granted, I don't praise Modern Warfare 3 very often. Matter of fact, I would throw that game right out of the garbage. But I am praising something as part of the game, and you know that shit doesn't happen often. So obviously, if I'm taking something from that game, it had to be something really good. But the idea here is to make a rotating schedule of games. The lineup we have right now just spreads people out way too much and you don't have enough people in actual game modes. So instead of having all these lesser played game modes constantly sitting there taking other players away, build rotating game of the week modes. One week I have the game mode be Headquarters, the next week may be Hardcore Team Deathmatch, the next may be Crank Domination, etc. Each week has a different set of challenges, different rewards, maybe gun camo or that porn star beef curtain sight for your gun. Anything and everything, who gives a fuck, man? But in actually doing something like this, it shows that the studios would actually be hands-on. Now think about this for a second. How often do the studios who make Call of Duty communicate with their fans through in-game promotions? Just think about that idea for a second. They communicate what? 4 DLC packs to us, a few new match types here and there, maybe some downloadable content you can pick off the store for like extra classes or some extra camo. Get the fuck out of here, man. They'll give us a few patches here and there that break shit and fix shit, maybe a few gameplay tweaks and whatnot, but that's it. They don't really do much outside of the things that they roll out or outside the things that they want us to pay money for. Now, imagine each week doing something like Mass Effect in rolling out a new game and a new challenge with a different game mode every single week. Back then, Mass Effect was rolling out challenges every 2 weeks. Then, they increased it to once every week. Why couldn't Call of Duty follow that model? Why couldn't Sledgehammer follow that model? Why can't Treyarch? Why can't Infinity Ward? Giving fans rotating content is what keeps them coming back. Not just leaving some generic fucking gameplay out there and hoping people come back with all these stupid ass challenges. No! Rotate your shit out. Make it worthwhile for people to come back and play new things each and every week. Give them more XP. Give them more points. Make it so that the Game of the Week mode actually earns double XP, triple XP, whatever the fuck it is. Give them something that makes them want to keep playing this and makes them want to keep coming back. It's the only way you would be able to add a full crank gameplay type without splitting up the community even more than it already is. Having it as a standalone mode means less people will play this motherfucker. And considering that Ghost has the lowest online play numbers since World at War, you can tell gamers are finally showing their frustration with this franchise. You can tell gamers are finally showing their frustration with these studios over the amount of content and the lack of support we feel like we're getting. Other games on the market, they do monthly things, they do weekly things, they do bi-weekly things. Shit, even daily content. Seriously, Destiny is going to have daily content. Daily. Changes every fucking day. Meanwhile, I can't get a patch for Call of Duty for months. If Ghost was able to rotate out those weekly challenges, you know, where you had to kill people with this perk, that perk, or whatever the fuck it is, win 20 game modes, if they're able to change them at any point they want, then how come the other studios wouldn't be able to do this with other game modes? Give people something a bit different when it comes to variety, and your content will improve. People will appreciate it if you're showing them that you're making an actual effort. I'm telling you right now, I have given these developers all these great ideas over the fucking years, but I guarantee you, they're just going to keep ignoring me. All these wonderful things that they could have added to the game, nope, doesn't matter, don't care. We just want to keep doing whatever means the less amount of work possible. You could add a full crank game type mode to the rotation besides regular and hardcore, and you would absolutely have people play it as long as you give incentives for it. But again, this is Call of Duty, so we'll see if what happens in the future. They even keep the damn crank modes. I swear to God, man, if those future games don't keep crank, they are fucking stupid. Bungie, man, if you're listening, y'all need to hire me because I'm telling you, I can hook your shit up. If I can hook up Call of Duty, I can hook your shit up, man. But anyways, that does it for my brand new idea for future Call of Duty games. So as always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good shit, and I'll see you guys in the next video.